Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Reed.
Good cold evening, gentlemen.
And we're not joined by Michael Hall. He's on vacation, unfortunately, for today, but he will be back on Thursday. We are joined by special guest, former Jet Scout and Redskins Scout, and lifelong Redskins fan, Daniel Kelly. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, sir.
Hey, thank you very much, guys, for having me on. This will be fun. Hail to the Redskins, and we can still say that, right?
We can technically say it. We can
still say it, and I'm sure
they haven't announced the name yet, so we're good.
We're going to continue saying it and mistakenly for I'm not even sure how many years at this
Absolutely.
point. But let me ask you, first off, Dan, kind of tell everyone about yourself. You have a book called Whatever It Takes. Can you kind of let us know what that entails?
Absolutely. Well, here it is. I brought it with me, whatever it takes. The true story of a fan making to the NFL. It's my lifelong story, really. Grew up in Minnesota, a rabid Washington Redskins fan. I was 8 years old. I was love at first sight, back with Riggins and the RFK and the Hogs and Gibbs and all the guys. And my parents were watching a Minnesota Vikings playoff game, an old RCA television in the corner of the living room. And it was love at first sight. I was like, wow, this is cool. It's like a magnet to a refrigerator. So the colors, everything about it. It was the Super Bowl 17 year, of course, with Riggins. And I remember being 8 years old, had these little pajamas on with feet in them, and this little red T-shirt that said Riggins on the back. My grandma got for me a little 44 screen print in the front, way before they had NFL jerseys at NFL shop. I lied, and I was just 4th and 1. I mean, we all remember the play, John Riggins, and I was hooked. And matter of fact, I took it so much to heart that when the Redskins lost Super Bowl 18 against the Raiders, when I was 9 years old, I threw up and missed 3 days of school.
So you're a legitimate diehard fan.
Legitimate. My room was a Redskins shrine growing up. I had a countdown chart on my closet wall to how many days the next Redskins game in the offseason. Right. I had every Redskins game on VHS tape. I'd come home from school, put it back in, watch it like the first time I'd seen it. Chanting defense. My mom was like, "It's March. What are you screaming at?" I'm like,
it must have been so nice to grow up and see the Redskins winning. I was born in 1990, so I was one during the 91 Super Bowl. Ever since then, it's tough.
Poopy.
It's been brutal.
It's been absolutely brutal. So Daniel, let me ask you. Like you said, you're a lifelong fan. You're a passionate fan. And you care about this team, so let me ask you what you feel with the team name. How do you think that's going to go about? Are you okay with the name change? And if you are, what would you be okay with?
Great question, Kyle. Sensitive question for sure. I mean, I'm a guy that's for my birthday this year. I'm getting a Redskins tattoo on my right hand. Okay. So I love the Redskins. I bleed burgundy and gold. Completely against the name change. That was blown way out of proportion. It was just the way it happened. Now, this is something interesting enough. It's been going on since I was a kid. I mean, I was 13 years old, and I remember, there was protests going on even back then by a gentleman by the name of Clyde Bellecourt. Started protesting the Redskins name back then. And I wrote, at 13 years old, I wrote an editorial in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. If singing "Hail to the Redskins" is not the ultimate compliment to a race of people, what is? So this has been going on for years. I went to that Super Bowl, but to your point, Mike, we talked about it in January 26, 1992 at the Metrodome. I was there, and I remember walking into the Metrodome with my Redskins Zubas on, my Mark Rippon jersey, my Redskins hat, my war paint, and it was something where, they were yelling out then, change your name, and so this has been going on for the last 30 years of my life. And so to see it actually happen, Kyle and Mike, was extremely disheartening. How it happened. I actually wrote. I write for Rigo's Rag online. If you guys have seen that,
that's a great. That's a great place to get Redskins info.
Absolutely, I write for them, and I wrote an article a few days before the name change came out, and just implored Dan Snyder not to change the name. Now, Dan Snyder is a guy who signed off on me coming out to Washington last year for my interview and my time out to Washington, so he knows my name. And I put together this whole article, saying, hey, you know what? So what? FedEx, Amazon, Walmart, Target, they're all pulling out. These are just sponsors. Dan Snyder is a self-made billionaire. This guy's a marketing genius. We'll find new sponsors. There's a workaround to this. And I even offered to come in to be the general manager of the team and take the heat and take the hit. basically and shield him, basically, and keep the name. So I love the Redskins. I love the team name. Having a real hard time with it. I actually cried the morning. I mean, quite honestly, I cried. My wife held me, and I just broke. I mean, I've always told people that the one thing I always have in my life, rain or shine, is the Redskins, and to see that taken away over something that amounts to just about money and political correctness, to me, does not sit well at all.
And that's you hit that's why I feel like it's just so disappointing. It's just with everything going on today, it turned into a political statement, and now that's this thing that we all have grown to love, that we've all loved through terrible years, through everything, is just being taken away, and we just got to rebrand. I mean, it sucks. Yeah, I feel you on that, man.
Because
it's horrible.
To me, personally, what I think happened is Dan got put. He was a rock in a hard place.
He was in a lose-lose situation.
What I think happened is he knew that this report was coming out. They knew for years this was coming out. Ever since the cheerleading scandal broke, this has been in the makings. And he had to go to Roger. And he had to go to Roger and say, look, I need the support of the owners. I need your guys' backing. If I'm going to be able to make it out of this ownership without being forced out, I need the owners' help. I can't have them and the public going against me. And that's when Roger Goodell looked at him and said, if you change the name. And that's where I can see Dan Snyder bending the knee, you could say, in quotes. And that's what I think happened here, is that he was stuck and he was forced into this because he doesn't want to see this team being ripped apart and turned into the PC that everyone else has turned into. And he wants to continue the legacy here. And so let me ask you, Daniel, if you were to have the Redskins change the name, if they had to, what would be one that you'd be comfortable with?
The one that I've liked, to answer your question, Kyle, that I've seen on Twitter right now is the Washington Warhawks.
That's a good one. That's a pretty good one.
That's one I've seen. Now, I know the Red Wolves is all over Twitter. That's the one everybody likes right now. I know there's one person that bought up all the trademarks and everything, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, what would you pick?
If I can be honest with you right now, at first I was okay with the Red Wolves thing, but then seeing Twitter explode, I know Kyle's kind of right there with me with it, and just all of a sudden all these people are just like, Dan Snyder needs to change the name to the Red Wolves so we can protect this endangered species. I love this animal, and it's like, you guys didn't care about the Red Wolves or that species before this. This is just to help you push that name. I've kind of been on board with the Warriors. I mean, I'd be okay with Red Wolves, something kind of incorporating the Wolves I think could be cool. Warriors, I know it's going to be tough because of Golden State. I do like what you said, the Warhawks. I think that could be an interesting name. Yeah. So there's a few out there that I'm okay with, but mainly I just hate the Red Wolves fan base right now pushing for it on Twitter.
Yeah, look, I'm all about the Warriors. I have been from the jump. When Ron Rivera said that they want to honor the military, I was all about it because then you could incorporate the black uniform. You can incorporate a kind of camo uniform, and that could be unique to us. And then all under the Warrior umbrella, you could actually honor the Red Tails with a specialty uniform or statues outside the stadium, tribute videos. You could also pay tribute to multiple Warriors over the years. One that brings to mind is Pat Tillman, a gentleman that had an NFL job, was a safety for the Arizona Cardinals, went and served his country, and ended up passing away from friendly fire. But the fact is, that could be something unique to DC. We could honor the military. I would absolutely love a flyover before every game when fans are allowed back. But I think Warriors is the best fit for what they want to do. You can honor multiple aspects, and like Reed has said multiple times on this podcast, everyone has carried a spear throughout history. It's not just Native Americans. So if anyone tries to say that Warriors is too close to then gelling that in, I don't understand why that is even an issue. And then
have they seen 300?
Right, and then the Golden State comparison, they have trademark rights for everything except for football. That has that one loophole there. So that's why the Redskins, you haven't heard about it on the wavelengths if they've been reaching out for it because they don't need to. And then with Golden State, I think the NFL is king. The Redskins could literally make the playoffs this year, and everyone would just be referring to them as Golden State, like they already do. Nobody really thinks of them as the Warriors, you know? And this could be something to us, and we have our own branding with the military, honoring that military. That's why I think it's Warriors, without a doubt. I think there's just so many cool things you can do.
Good thought, Kyle, Mike. Absolutely.
Yeah, Kyle, that's a pretty good point, too. When you think of the Warriors, call them Golden State. Like you literally just say Golden State. You don't say the Warriors out there in the West. You're like Golden State out there with Steph Curry. They're looking pretty good. You don't call them the Warriors.
Never said the Warriors.
Yeah. So you can kind of just adopt that name and make it your own. It's true.
That's why I think the NFL, it doesn't matter. The NFL will always win. As long as the Redskins are winning, it shouldn't be an issue. I just hate that cop-out answer in particular. But look, Dan, last year you were paid by the Redskins to do some scouting for them and for their team. And so you scouted the Redskins team last year with Dwayne Haskins' rookie year. So I have to go ahead and ask you, who was your favorite player on that team last year? Who did you think was the best player in your scouting?
I thought it was Landon Collins. Personally, I thought on the team, I love the safety. Him and McLaurin are the two guys that really, really caught my attention. Landon Collins, I know what people say about him as a cover safety. He's not the best at coverage and stuff like that. But when he comes down to the box, he comes down the box and he comes off the edge blitzing, and he's in run support down there. When I had a chance to interview with Bruce Allen last October for the 49ers weekend, I sat in his hotel room for an hour and a half, and we talked ball. And I was like, you know what? Let's play to our strengths. Why don't we just bring Landon? Let's play let's have a 3 safety package. Let's bring Landon down. We weren't getting much, participation or contribution for some of our linebacking last year. Let's bring Landon down in the box. Let's put Sweat all in maybe a wide 9 position. Let's wide him out in that 34. Let's have Sweat coming off the edge, and let's have Landon Collins sweep in, loop in behind. I said, you got your 2 best pass rushers on the team with the most speed coming off the edge. So I love Landon Collins. I think that, he's a really good ball player. And I think Scary Terry out there, McLaurin, he's a truth. He really is. I mean, very rarely in the last 38 years of watching the Redskins have I seen a guy come in and just look like a veteran as a rookie.
Right.
And you guys, I mean, what are your thoughts about McLaurin?
Yeah, you're absolutely. Well, the thing is, you can go to my Twitter, to my profile. My pinned tweet is me the day after the draft. I think it was actually Ben Standig's Twitter account, Breaking Burgundy 2.0, asked who was the best value pick for the Redskins at that time, and I said Terry McLaurin the day after. And the reason wasn't because of what he put on the field or because of his intangibles or how fast he was, or it was because of his interview. Because seeing who he was as a man, how he carried himself, how much he loved being able to call himself a Redskin, and I fell in love with him right then and there. I said, this kid has the mindset to get it done, and it was absolutely beautiful to watch him grow in what seemed like the desert in talent with the Redskins last year, if that makes any sense. It's such a down year. The fact that Terry McLaurin was able to blossom and do well, I mean, I think it just speaks volumes about Terry as a player and as a man.
Right.
Good point, Kyle.
And I remember during the summer hearing how far ahead Terry was compared to the other rookies, just how good he was and how much of a pro he was already, and that they didn't expect him to be this far along on offense. And they thought that he was going to contribute mainly at special teams and then kind of work his way in at wide receiver. But we had heard that for so long with players like Cam Sims, with Terrell Pryor, with Taylor Jacobs, all these people who during the offseason, there were going to be these studs. And then come the regular season, they completely disappear. Terry was the exact opposite. You heard this about Terry. I kind of took it with a grain of salt. Next thing you know, Terry is burning everybody at training camp. Preseason, Terry's playing well. Then the first game, he comes out and he scorches the Eagles secondary. So Terry's the real deal.
That's an understatement.
He's so fun to watch. And he's just different than any rookie receiver we've seen really in the last few years. PFF had him rated as the highest rookie wide receiver since Odell Beckham Jr. So that says a lot. They loved Odell. So
yeah, we got a good one in Terry. I agree with you guys. When you see guys, kind of hit the scene like that, and they look very natural and very comfortable, like playing with the pros. When they're just coming up like that, that's a great sign.
And for the opposing players like Darius Slay coming out and saying that Terry McLaurin was one of the hardest players he had to guard last year. He just said his route running is incredible. Like, for pros to play that, not just pros, like the best of the best, to say that about Terry, that's saying something. Like, this kid's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen.
That's all you can say.
So let me ask you, Daniel, coming from somebody who does scout, who loves the game of football, there's question marks here with the Redskins players in particular, who we have at our disposal. And let me ask you, at the left tackle spot, that's one of the biggest question marks right now. Look, the Redskins drafted Sadiq Charles in the 4th round. They still have Jaron Christian there, and then they also went and signed Lucas from the Bears this offseason. So who do you think, and who is the best option for the Redskins to start at left tackle right now? Who do you think is going to win that out?
I think that we brought Penton back, right?
No.
We still have him? No, he's gone. Okay. So it might just be the kid. It might be the draft pick. They may just plug him in and go with him if he's a Rivera guy, especially if he's a Rivera guy. Right. Rivera had a lot of input about him. We might just go with the draft pick and just see what he can do. I mean, that's probably they want to go with the youth movement, so that'd be my pick.
Yeah. I think that you're 100% right. I don't think we've seen enough from Jaron Christian for him to actually take hold of that job. So I think you're right. I think that there's a reason that Rivera and co. knew what they were doing and taking Sadiq Charles that high early in the 4th round. They said that they like him and that they thought he was worth a lot more than a 4th round pick. So I think that they're just going to plug him in there, see what he can do, and just live with it for a season. If he doesn't show out, there's still some veterans out there that maybe you could bring on. But I think that right now they're banking on Sadiq kind of surprising some people and winning that left tackle spot.
Yeah, look, and with the shortened offseason with COVID and everything kind of restricting everything that the NFL and the players can do, I just worry about Sadiq Charles transitioning to the pros. And look, I know he played in the SEC. He went against really good competition on that defensive line week in and week out. I'm not going to argue that, but the fact is you're going against that every single week here in the NFL. And it's a 16-game season. It's a long season. I'm just not sure if Sadiq Charles is going to be able to step in right away in a shortened offseason, not being able to get the game plan as much with Pete Honor. I know he's Pete Honor being the tight ends coach, but Mike Matzko, the offensive line coach now for the Redskins, is highly respected. And I really hope that Sadiq Charles does pick up easy. I just have a feeling that it's going to be Jaron Christian. And I know he didn't do all that well last year, but he did get better. He progressed throughout the season. He did answer
some of those calls. He has all the ability.
He does, and that's why I feel like Jaron Christian could be the immediate starter, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Sadiq Charles come in and take that at some point.
Kind of work into the rotation. Yeah, that's a very good point, Cal. Yeah, absolutely.
And let's not also forget there's still a big hole at left guard, too. I mean, I know that everybody loves – they're kind of banking on Wes Martin and Wes Schweitzer coming in there and filling it, but neither one of them. Schweitzer's kind of just been a rotational guy. Wes Martin is still unproven. I mean, who knows? Maybe Jaron Christian comes in there and does take that step and solidifies the left tackle position, even if it's just solid play. And then you can slide Sadiq Charles inside because I know that they do like his upside at guard as well. So that could just kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Hopefully that's Madden talk almost. That's almost like just getting too ahead of myself.
Right. That's good. That's good. Well, one thing if I can just add about Wes Martin, I really like Wes when I watched the Redskins last year.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just looking at the scouting report I have right now on my phone. I said strong and tough with decent techniques, has athletic ability, filled in for injury, has sort of an attacking looking stance to him, has some aggressiveness to his game. He can hold up at the point, use his hands, strong anchor, can hold up strong against full rushes, works well in tandem with the center. Needs better understanding of stunts a little bit, but pushes, holds the point. Not a dominant run blocker, but does just well enough. And I liked his fight. I liked his attitude for the position and did the job. I think we can get by with Wes Martin playing guard. I really do. Yeah. I think he showed enough last year to suggest that he could probably do a sufficient job going forward. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, too, with your scouting report. He's just a bull. He's just such a strong guy. And as long as he's right. And he's just an alpha male type. He's just going to bully people. And apparently he's a very hard worker in the weight room. He's somebody who works his ass off the field. So he's somebody who I love. I pray Wes Martin. I hope that you're right on the head with that scouting report, and I hope that he does take over because that guy could be a beast.
Yeah, and give a lot of credit to Ron Rivera going out and signing Wes Schweitzer. Going to get depth because that's been one of the issues with the Redskins offensive line over the years is when one of those guys, one of the starting 5 goes out, they don't really have that many bullets in the chamber. And right now you're looking at the Redskins offensive line saying they have a bunch of, okay guys. I don't think we should sit here and pump anybody up just for the sake of the pod. But the fact is they have a bunch of options. And that's the best way to possibly go. And versatility is the name of the game. And I think Wes Martin could easily transition to that left guard spot at any point in time and not have an issue. So let's move on a little bit to the draft. Next year, it's 2021. most likely, we don't know what's going to go on with the college draft, the college season of football this season. Most likely, it's not going to be played. So a lot of talk is going to have to be about these players going into next draft. They're going to have to be used from last year's football. So we're going to break down 3 players for you guys. We all watched the same film. And so the quarterback that we're going to talk about is Trey Lance. The left tackle we're going to talk about is Penei Sewell. And then a cornerback that we're going to talk about is Caleb Fairley, who I am really excited to talk about. But let's start off with Trey Lance. Reed, you and I have talked about him for months and months. I want to get your scouting report on him before we go to the expert.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
Oh, you're the expert? I'm sorry.
That's what I was saying.
You guys are the expert. I didn't know we were doing these 3 guys. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't hear you say expert. I broke up a little bit there, so now I'm kind of embarrassed that I took that I was a winner.
I did 3 other guys, so I'm just playing.
Yeah, wait. No, but I like Trey Lance. I like him a lot, at least from what I've seen. I know it was only 1 season so far at North Dakota State, and it is North Dakota State. It's not like he's playing at Alabama or at Clemson, but he did put up some pretty incredible numbers. I mean, anytime you throw 0 interceptions, what was it, 28 touchdowns, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, he passed for just over 3,000, and an undefeated season. Like, the guy has it all. His ball placement on deep passes from the games that I have seen, he's done pretty good. He's got pretty good mechanics as well. He's very good on the move. But sometimes he cannot set his feet a little bit and the ball can sail on him, especially in the mid game. But those are all things that can be fixed. I mean, those are things that with coaching and with more experience, I don't think that you can expect him to come out next season, if they do play, and throw 0 interceptions again. But I do expect him to throw a very low number. But I just don't think it'll be the anomaly of throwing 0. But yeah. I like Trey Lance, and I think he could, honest to God, be a top 2 quarterback next year if he puts together another solid season.
Yeah, look, I really liked his film, but I have some gripes with I don't think with him, but I think it's more in how he's used. But let me go to you, Daniel. The scouting report. Let's hear what you think of Trey Lance.
Absolutely. First, I just noticed underneath my face on the show, it says Samantha Kelly. That's my wife. I'm looking at that. I said, wait a second here. Everyone's going to think, well, it doesn't make any sense. But, Trey, no, that's my wife, my beautiful wife. But no, Trey Lance, I wrote up a little report. Is it okay if I read it about him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I said, square, compact, tough, read option type of quarterback who really burst onto the scene. Has excellent fundamentals for the position. But average playing speed, I felt, and a very average arm strength. It reminded me kind of a poor man's Donovan McNabb in a way. That's the first thing that popped in my head.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Shows toughness, good poise in the pocket, had good pocket awareness. Seemed to have like eyes in the back of his head, I put, and could really feel the rush. I like how he kind of stood around the pocket, kind of avoided some things in the tape that we watched. Very good ball handling skills on the play action. I thought, that's you can tell he's been well coached. Somebody's really worked with this kid for a long period of time. He has very, very mature ball handling skills. Relies more on touch than arm strength. I felt he lacked arm strength overall. Puts too much air into the ball at times, and sometimes takes too long to get there. I saw some defensive backs break up a couple passes. Decent accuracy. Looks like a real smart kid who makes good decisions with the ball. Burst onto the scene in 2019, like you were hitting on, Mike, with 180.6 quarterback rating. Played all 16 games, 2,786 yards, passing 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. To your point, Mike, you touched on that. Shows he consistently makes good decisions with the ball, generating a lot of hype at his level. Walter Payton and Jerry Rice award winners. He won those awards. Intriguing kid who has some things to him. I think he projects for a lower round draft pick, maybe between rounds 5 and 7.
Oh, wow.
Practice squad guy, I said, who can run the scout teams. I would actually love to use him in what I call the 2-headed monster system, which is something that hasn't been used before in the NFL that I wanted to run before. This is something I suggested to Mark Preston back when they had Cutler at quarterback. I suggested they sign Tebow and put 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time. If you were to line up a kid like Trey Lance as a running back behind Dwayne Haskins and maybe put him out there and then pitch the ball because he lacked the speed. RG3, if you remember, guys, had the speed to hit the edge, and he could turn the corner.
Right.
In South Dakota State, this guy's not even hit the edge. So he's going to need some help to get out there, whether it's a pitch, a screen. Now, if you get this guy on space and you get him out towards the edge, and all of a sudden the team has to make a decision as you go run, as you go pass, as you go run, something like that would occur, maybe a gadget type of package or something. I think the Redskins could really excel with this guy at that level. I think he'd be a great player to bring in, almost like, Brian Mitchell. I mean, we didn't do that back in the day with B. Mitch, but B. Mitch was a quarterback in college at Louisiana Tech, I think, that he came in and played running back for the Redskins for years and was a backup emergency quarterback. Could be a guy like that. But to me, guys, the big question marks to me is that he locked into the receivers. The arm strength was just average. He really seemed like he had to push the ball out there. And those are big concerns to me. And now he's got great athletic ability, but the average speed is a concern. I don't know what's right now.
And that's one thing, real quick, Kyle, that I think that you're 100% right on with his speed. It's weird. Like he rushed for so many yards. I understand a lot of it was the offense, but when you really watch some of his plays, he's really not as fast as you would expect him to be. Like you would expect like a Lamar Jackson type guy out there, but he's really not blowing you away with his speed. It's just, I guess it was just the offense and the schemes that they were running.
Well, yeah, he's sitting there at 6'3", 221 pounds. And when you watch his film, he doesn't look like somebody that's 221, which to me tells me that he can actually bulk up. He can put on more weight, and he can be a big, sustainable body. But the one issue that I have with Trey Lance watching his film is how much that coordinator is running him. He needs to stop running him so much. They need to be able to sit him in the pocket so he can be able to break down defenses. We saw this with RG3 at Baylor. When you make everything easier with this read option kind of offense, quarterbacks can struggle transitioning to the NFL. I think Trey Lance, I'm not going to lie to you guys, when I watched his film, when he gets outside the pocket and on the run, he looks exactly like Aaron Rodgers. Go back and watch his film. Watch all of his throws outside the pocket, either a crossbody or with his body. He's hitting on the money. He's hitting it on the numbers and on the hands every single time. It's impeccable. I love this kid. I think he has a lot of room to grow, but is he going to be able to see the kind of competition level at North Dakota State? That's my issue with him. Is he going to be able to go against sophisticated defensive coordinators that are changing concepts up for him pre-snap and everything like that? Because as of right now, it's easy for him. And like Dan was saying, he's hitting wide open guys and staring at him because that's where the play is telling him to go. Right. The one thing I did in particular say, when he sat back in the pocket, when he took the snap, it takes like a second or two to do your drop back, get back 4 or 5 steps. When he did that, he stood tall in the pocket. He almost looked like Brady's posture in that kind of way. Everyone knows Brady's sitting in the pocket, just standing there like this. He didn't look flustered, didn't look worried. It looked like he was completely comfortable with being in that position. I think that he could be a very, very good professional. It's just the only thing I worry about is his competition level.
Right. But to counter that, Carson Wentz went to the same exact school. He's had success, but at the same time, Carson Wentz was also 6'4", 6'5", 230, and he had a laser arm. He was mobile. He's mobile as well. So they're different quarterbacks. They do go to the same school, but I could see why Trey Lance almost would have some of these gaudy numbers because he's almost like a perfect college quarterback. Will that translate to the NFL? I don't know. I think so far, to me, it looks good. But then again, I don't know nearly as much as Daniel does. So I don't know.
Hey, guys, before you get carried away, I had Peyton Manning ranked as my 4th best quarterback in my draft book in '98 when I got hired by the Jets. So don't get too carried away.
Who did you have? Ryan Leaf?
Yeah. I had Ryan Leaf number 1.
A lot of people had
Brian Greasy number 2. Dan Gonzalez, Dan who, number 3, and Peyton Manning number 4. So don't listen to me all the time, just some of the time.
It's a crapshoot. It's okay.
Just like Doug Williams said, it's a crapshoot. You're absolutely right.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
So let's move on to the left tackle, Penei Sewell. And Dan, I want to go to you first. He's 6'6", weighing at 330 pounds. The left tackle from Oregon. What did you think about this kid?
I really like this kid. I really did. Just to read the report again, I said excellent athlete. And this is what we do in War Room in the NFL. We go around the room and read the players and talk about them just like we're doing here in the show. It's our fans are wondering about. Excellent athlete with very graceful feet. I felt who excels at sealing off the edge and pass protection. slides out real nicely, has a size to really wall off the perimeter. I mean, he's 6'6", 331. He dances around out there, kind of like the guy with the Cowboys. Their left tackle, just kind of like kind of like a ballerina at left tackle. He's got some of that look to him, very nimble. I felt he needs some to maybe to work and coach him up a little bit more in the hand technique. He seemed to look a little bit sloppy, especially on rushes to the inside. He seemed a little surprised by some of that. Great athletic ability, able to pull out and get on space with running plays to the outside. Great playing speed, I felt, for a big man. Not a mauler, but more of a positional steal type of blocker that excels at turning his man to the inside or outside, depending on where the run is headed. Nice job holding the point of attack. Stays off the ground. It's a sign of a great athlete. Keeps upright. Also, probably a guy who won't get injured much because of it. Definitely a first-round pick. Anybody with feet like that, with that size, going in the first round. I can see him maybe going to Minnesota with the Vikings. I think would love a guy like that. Reef Riley's in the 5th year. I mean, he's got a 5-year deal right now. He signed in 2017 for $58 million. So maybe a guy they bring in there, behind Riley to kind of groom for that position. I can really see him doing a great job on offensive steals off the edge like they do for Dalvin Cook and Matheson on those screens and those outside runs. I really like the guy. He wasn't dominant. I love dominant offensive linemen like the Will Hernandez's of the world. Those guys that just maul people. And sometimes, but I really felt this guy is going to be a blue chip. I mean, anybody with feet like that can dance around like that, 6'6", 331. You're going to hear his name in the first 10, 15 picks.
Yeah, and look, I really liked Penei Sewell's tape. I just had a couple question marks with him. Whenever he engages with his hands, if he has to re-engage the defender, he struggles in that area. But if he gets his grip on you, he holds it. He's got strong hands.
He has jaws of life arms.
Exactly, and he's holding on. But if he has to work to be able to re-engage that, I feel like that's where he struggles. And he also is susceptible inside. I know that he can get taken off balance and beat in that aspect. And then in the running game, I felt like his body control, I guess the balance was too much in front of him. Whenever he was run blocking, it was like all of his weight was on his front of his body, and all a defender has to do is be able to move or shimmy out the way, and he's going by him. Where in regards where you would rather an offensive lineman come at some sort of breakdown, having their balance still, that way they can still have their body in front of the defender. I'm not going to kill the guy. The guy, he is 100% a first-round pick. His pass protection reminds me of Joe Thomas. A guy that's not going to blow you away with speed, but is strong-handed. He's gonna have the great mechanics going back to his stance. His first step off the line of scrimmage can get a little bit deeper. It is kind of shallow at this point. It can get a lot deeper, but he does a good job of mirroring the defensive end whenever they're blitzing. So in pass protection, the only thing that can get him beat is quick rushers, and then inside moves. That's where I feel like that's where he could get beat and susceptible to that. But for the most part, he could plug in right now and play left tackle. That's why I think he is a bona fide top 10 pick in my opinion. What was your assessment, Reed?
Oh, I love him. I think this is honestly my favorite player in this draft. I think that, or assuming that he comes out this year, I think that he is just, like you guys both said, just a legitimate, surefire first rounder. Anytime you're 6'6", 330 and you move like that, like a dancing bear, and he just has jaws of life hands. Like you guys have both said, once he latches on you, he's not letting go. And he has a nasty streak to him, kind of a nasty demeanor, especially in the Auburn game. The Auburn game was the first game of the season last year, and he went up against a defensive line with the number 7 overall pick, Derek Brown. They had 2 other players that got drafted, and he just looked unreal. I wish I could pull up, like I was telling you earlier, Kyle, my notes and stuff I'm having a tough time on my laptop right now, but like I had just look up his advanced statistics. It's crazy. The amount of pressures that he allowed, sacks 0, the amount of penalties that he had, quarterback hits that he allowed. It's just unreal. And he's somebody he's a Samoan, so he's a hard worker. You know that.
Yeah.
But seriously, he's somebody who I just think is going to just be out of this world. He's going to be a top 5 pick. I think that as long as he can work on some of the things, like you said, like sometimes he stands too upright in the running game, and that can get him in trouble. Yeah. I think as long as he can fix some of those things with coaching, he's got all the physical traits, and he's already just about there with the technique. He just needs a little bit of refinement, and he's going to be one of the best offensive tackle prospects we've seen come out in quite some time, which isn't really saying much considering that there hasn't been that many good offensive tackle prospects coming out over the last 5-10 years. So, but he does kind of remind me of a Tyron Smith, Trent Williams hybrid in terms of his size and his athletic ability. He's somebody who's like Trent. Trent was 6'5", 320 or something, coming out 330, and he could move. He was agile, and he was very quick-footed. And like you alluded to, I think that's just unreal for somebody to be that size and be able to move like that.
Now, I think another left tackle actually mirrors Trent better, but that's fine. We'll disagree on that.
I know, but you're wrong.
I know. Look, but look, the Penny.
I'm back in the war room.
But I will say, Penei Sewell, when he is off the line of scrimmage, his immediate reaction is low, which is great to see. He has the power there. But I feel like it's once he gets to the second level, once he has to go to his block, reach that second block, he gets too high. And he allows his body to be top heavy, off balance, so he can be moved and moved out of the way. But initially, he does a great job of that. So obviously, he has some things to work on. Every college player does.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even breaking down his film that's going into the draft. We're doing it the year before. So look, he has a lot of room to grow. But look, this like you said, surefire top 10 pick.
Yeah, one thing that I saw was he seemed to handle stunts well, and he seemed to pull very well. When he could get out there in space, and there were times where he got to the second level, of course, and it seemed like he was just looking around, looking for somebody to grab. But once he finds somebody, it's game over. And a few times on tape, from what I had seen, when he did get beat, he actually did a very good job recovering, regathering his feet, resetting himself, and grabbing hold of the guy. And it just kind of backed up by his statistics, like his in-depth stats. Or like I said, I wish I could bring up the notes right now, but it's crazy. I'll also have to send them to you guys or something, a direct message on Twitter. It's just out of this world. Like, it's something that shouldn't be possible. He got a second place Heisman vote.
Yeah,
sophomore.
Wow. If I could say one more thing about Sewell, is I would love to see him strike the pose that Desmond Howard struck with that Heisman. You know, kind of like
right.
As a big guy, but I mean, to your guys' points, I mean, this guy, you're bringing Sewell in to be a pass protector. That's what he's coming to do, and he could protect Washington's blind side for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. He could be the next in line after the Chris Samuels, Trent Williams, Penei Sewell. And he's fun to watch, man. He's somebody he can be when he wants to. He is a road grader, and he comes from a good family too. His brother was just, I think, a 5-star recruit who just signed with Utah or Utah State as a linebacker. So watch out for them. That family's got a lot of athletic talent.
Yeah, and one thing to allude to what you were saying, Reed, he is a hard worker. It's one of the notes that I wrote down. He's always looking for somebody to block and pass pro and rub block, and he's always trying to help in some capacity. So I wanted to make sure that gets said about Penei Sewell because he is a worker, and I do appreciate that.
But now we're going to move on to one of Kyle's favorite prospects, who you turned me on to, who I love now.
Yeah, and look, Caleb Farley, the cornerback from Virginia Tech, the juniors, sitting at 6'2", 207 pounds. I absolutely love this kid. Let me get your scouting report, Daniel.
Yeah, 6'2", 207, 4'3", 740 is what I saw online. Fundamentally and sound, very lanky looking. Pure cover corner is what I had on him, with good size, above average speed. Has some swag to him, some real confidence, which I love that in a corner. I absolutely love that.
You need that in a corner.
Absolutely. You've got to have confidence. You got to have a short-term memory too, and really good closing ability. That's what struck me. His speed is very deceptive.
Yes, it is.
When they say 4.37, I saw him close on some deeper patterns, which you guys probably saw, and I saw him close on some things where I said, wow, that's good closing speed. He can play an off or press coverage, I felt. He can turn, flip his hips, back pedal, turn and run. Technically solid-looking corner. He looks to line up well. Tends to bait quarterbacks a little bit. Maybe was part of it, I felt. Maybe he was baiting people. Or maybe he takes some chances. Kind of have a little bit D'Angelo Hall to him, I felt.
Right. Yep. Virginia Tech thing.
And I felt that he did change the direction, matching the routes, matching the receivers running the routes, good ball skills, good instincts, battles receivers for the ball. That's something that I love, is when the ball's in the air, he'll go up and battle for it, which not all of them do. Matter of fact, very few of them sometimes do to that extent. Has some physicality to him against receivers, not really a factor against the run. I don't think you're bringing him in to play nickel where you can, he can bang in there in the run. But I think he's a very solid number 2 corner, and probably a second, early third round pick. Maybe might sneak up if somebody wants to grab somebody. But I like the kid. I liked everything about him. He almost had a feel to him like he was the number 1 receiver at his college right now. because it looks like in the film we watch, it seems like teams try to stay away from him for the most part. He's definitely got some game to him. He's a baller.
Yeah. And Reed and I were talking before we started recording, and we both watched the Miami tape, and I said during my film breakdown of Caleb, you know, it was amazing that Miami kept trying to throw downfield on him. You know, at some point you would just say, this isn't working, let's go a different route. And look, I absolutely love this kid. I think he actually matches up perfectly against tight ends. Like you alluded to, Dan, he could play man, he could play off press. He's really good at blowing up screens, being able to get past a wide receiver screen. But one of the biggest things that he does need to get better at, credit to you, Daniel, for alluding to this, is tackling. He's kind of like D. Hall in that aspect where it's kind of a soft tackler, not really an aggressive form tackler, like you could say. And then another thing that he needs to get better at, and I told him this on Twitter, we went back and forth after my film breakdown. He's a great kid. He needs to turn his head around for balls. In college, you can get away with that. In the pros, it's a pass interference flag every single time. Get your head around, brother. Get your head around. You can, and like you said, he's a baller. He can make plays on the ball. Allow yourself to see where the ball's going so you can make a play on it. And I was telling Reed before we recorded, if ever down in his career, later on down the road, if he ever starts lacking speed, he can easily transition to safety. I think his ball hawking skills, his eyes awareness, and instincts are all an elite level. And like Daniel, like you were saying, his closing speed is something that you can't really measure. He just has that ability. He's a ball hawk in every essence of the word. I think he could start next year, honestly, for a team at number 2 spot, like you were saying, Daniel. I don't think he could be a lockdown corner right away. But if he gets put in the right system, like a Bill Belichick system, I think this kid could really, really do well.
Bill would love this kid because, that was the big thing that Bill taught, too, when I was at the Jets with him when he was the defensive coordinator there, is to turn around and look for the ball. So Bill would coach him up with some of those technical things, but there's some natural things that this kid has that can't be taught and can't be, I mean, it can be bought, I guess, but it can't be taught, you know, where, but this guy's going to get paid. This is an 8 to 12 year starter in the NFL. This guy's going to play for somebody at a pretty high level for quite some time. When you have those kind of ball skills, you have those kind of closing speed, and you have just a natural feel for the position, you're going to be on the field for quite a while.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. What was your scouting report on him, Reed? Because look, you were kind of objective with this.
Yeah. At first, I was, but then the more and more that I watched him, the more I kind of fell in love with Caleb Farley. Like you guys have both said, his size and his length just stand out right out of the gate. He has the look of a corner that you're going to see out there on the perimeter, and then to match it, he has the athleticism. I'm sure his vertical jump is going to be very high. He, like you said, he ran a 4.37. And he has excellent ball skills. He's somebody who, even when he gets beat, he finds a way to make up ground and still get a play on the ball, whether it's an interception or just to knock the pass away or just to tip the ball. And like you said, when the ball's in the air, it's a 50-50 ball. He turns into a receiver. He's going to go up there. He's going to get it. Like we talked about, Kyle, the Miami game, his athleticism just completely showed out. Like you said, why Miami kept throwing at him, I will never understand, but they did, and they didn't get anything. He was just dominant. And I could see him easily. I mean, I know that there's some pretty good corners in this coming year's draft. I mean, Patrick Surtain is going to be very good from Alabama.
Sean Bateman.
I really like Sean Wade from Ohio State.
Sean Wade,
Israel Mokuamu or whatever from South Carolina, who's 6'4", who's just, as long as he can get his fluidity and his hips down, he could be good. But I think Caleb Farley could honestly climb up and be one of the top cornerbacks selected. I think you're right. It's anywhere he could sneak into that late half of the first round, or he could go second or third, and he could either be a top of the line starter, possibly. Who knows? He could become one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL, or he could be somebody who's like a Ronald Darby, who bounces around a little bit, but he's still playing, he's still getting paid, he's still starting, and he's still a solid option for a team.
Yeah, and I feel like
I really like Caleb Farley.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those guys that's really that would really benefit from a season this year because, he's kind of on the edge, like Daniel was saying, the second or third round. And I feel like this kid has the ability to be a top 10 pick, and I felt like he was going to have that ability this season because people were actually going to try him out. But look, we're all done with college now. I want to move on to Redskins news. I hope you don't mind, Daniel. We discussed this. I would love to get your input dealing with the team that you have had and your experience with them. The Redskins hired Julie Donaldson to be the senior VP of the media, and also they brought back Terry Bateman, who ran Dan's company, Snyder Communications, but also was working with the Redskins back in '06. He was here with Brian LaFamina when he got fired, so he's always been around the way. So let me ask your guys' opinions on this. Reed, I'll go to you first. What was your reaction with Julie getting hired and Terry?
Well, I love the Julie Donaldson hiring. I think that made complete sense, especially with all the news that it came out, the bombshell that was dropped that I'm just going to say it. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. I know, Kyle, you guys talked about it last week. And look, sexual harassment, not cool. There's no place for that anywhere. That's horrible. But, I mean, there was rumors of human sex trafficking and stuff going on with the Redskins. So at least it wasn't that. But I like the Julie
I don't know. Let's ask Dan.
Yeah, I like the Julie Donaldson hiring. I think that was a very smart move. I think that she is somebody who's very well respected in the DC area. But then the Bateman thing, it's kind of just at least off of what I've seen from Twitter. A lot of people have been saying that Bateman is almost just as bad, if not worse, than Bruce Allen. Just some people are saying that he's like, this guy's known what has been going on, didn't care, covered it up, and just let it happen. So I don't know what to believe. I'm hoping that Rivera would not let something like that happen. I don't know how much say he has in it, but it'll be interesting to see. Let's hope that they didn't just make the same mistake by getting this guy back on board.
Yeah, look, I didn't have a problem with Terry because it kind of seemed like this is Dan's fixer-upper. The guy that he hires to come in to try to fix the image, try to fix the marketing, get the ship back on right, and then he goes away for a while until he needs him again. That's how I kind of viewed this. In the other aspect, I'm not sure if this guy was really around for that kind of behavior and everything like that. This kind of seems like Dan's boy. I don't think that he would be in the office every day. You know, it kind of seemed like remote access that he could do. But with Julie,
I'm just going off things I saw on Twitter.
I got you. Julie, I think that this is a slam dunk. Obviously, Julie being around the younger crowd, being on social media, knows how everything goes. And I think that with her mindset and her direction, they could really turn Redskins around because, look, let's be honest, Redskins Nation was really boring with Larry as much as like, you know, he has pedestal what he did and everything. Regardless of the accusations, it was just kind of boring. So Julie, I think is the perfect replacement for him, and she's going to get the ship right and get going well. What did you think, Daniel?
I love your guys' show. You guys call it like you see it. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I think you know with Julie, I think just, you know, I don't know a whole lot about her, but just from watching on Twitter a little bit, I mean, it just seemed like she was kind of the person to have the inside scoop. I mean, 2 + 2 = 4. Yep. I'm with you, Mike. I thought it was going to be some bombshell. I thought they're going to dig somebody up at Redskin Park or something.
Right.
God.
They have a whole thing
come out of the ground, or what's going to happen here? It's like,
right.
You know, so and with Bateman, I don't know anything really about him other than what I'm hearing on Twitter too. So I wouldn't want to really comment too much on that right now. I know he is, you know, in the NFL, it does come down to a lot of times, not always, but it comes down to not what you know, but
who you know.
Who you know, right.
And so it makes perfect sense if he was associated with Snyder Communications, to your point, Kyle. You know, obviously he's going to resurface, and it's a small, you know, tight-knit group, and they're trying to get this thing back on track. But most people in the NFL are going to work with the people they're familiar with and the people they're most comfortable with.
Yeah, and look, everyone was complaining about how Ron Rivera is the coach of the team. He can't take all of this pressure and take all of these different jobs. Well, the Redskins go and fill that. Now everyone has an issue with it because who it was and his relationship with Snyder. Like with Ron Rivera, I didn't have any problem with Ron Rivera hiring the two guys from Carolina that came up here to replace the two sexual predators that were there before. So I didn't have a problem with it because it seemed like Ron Rivera trusts them. They have the same mindset. They want to be on the same page. So this would make a lot of sense for Dan to go get one of his guys to have a voice in the building so everyone is on the same page. And Dan's just not the guy on the outside looking in like, what's going on, guys? He at least has a voice in the building. And look, I understand that everyone thinks he's a yes man and the problems are going to come back up. It's not going to happen under Ron Rivera, in my personal opinion. That is an alpha male to a T, and he's going to stop any of that nonsense. And if Ron leaves, you know, there's a reason for that, in my opinion. I think Ron's one of those guys that sticks it out to the end. So if he were to leave, that's when you know the jig is back up again. Because, you know, we live with hope that Snyder steps away and allows the franchise to run itself for the football operations. Kind of glad that he didn't before because judging by those guys. But I like what they're doing here. They're changing the narrative. They're fixing the issues, the leaks and the faulty equipment that they had in there. They're fixing all of that with young, great people like Julie Donaldson, and I'm really excited for the Redskins' future, in my opinion. All right, so the NFL just announced on the 28th that they are opening training camp. The players have accepted a daily testing to be able to do training camp. But the biggest thing is the NFLPA is proposing no preseason games at all. Daniel, you being a scout, you understand how the lower level guys, this is how they get their opportunity in the NFL so they could showcase. What do you think the ramifications are from this ruling if they go through with it?
I think we're looking at a lot of ramifications. I think the preseason is good for training, conditioning for the whole team to get up to game speed. I mean, it's kind of like working out versus, yourself and lifting weights yourself, like working out with a trainer. There's a huge difference if you go to the gym. And I think, having these games, I know people have talked about for years, it's too much preseason. But yeah, as far as conditioning is concerned, as far as like coaches getting things together, especially if there's new people working together in a new environment, the timing, the headsets, making sure the communications are right. There's a lot more that goes into it, and especially for the young guys. I mean, this is a place where they showcase their talent and really get up to speed and stuff. So I think it could really hurt teams. I think potentially we could see even more injuries maybe this season and years past. Because the conditioning is just not there. I mean, there's a reason why they have mini camps and training camps and preseasons, and everybody.
Football shape is a real thing.
It's a very real thing, and with how fast these guys run, how hard they hit, it's an extremely real thing. We still see the amount of injuries we see. So now you're just going to go from basically, being home on quarantine to playing on Sundays. That's going to be an interesting challenge, unlike we've ever seen before, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is uncharted grounds. We don't know what is going to happen and what the ramifications are, and they're big because the NFL has never had not a preseason. This is going to be a really weird circumstances for all permitting. What was your opinion on that, Reed? What is your takeaway from the no preseasons? Is there any positives for the NFL?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the positives would be some of the players are happy about it. I don't know, because like you said, man, like from what I've always understood is it takes a little bit for players to get into football shape. They got to get used to the contact. Yeah. They got to get used to all this. And I just don't see how it could be a good thing with injuries. I mean, people are already with concussions and things the way that they are. Like you got to train your body to take that beating. And that's what the preseason's there for, I thought, is to kind of iron out the wrinkles. And anytime a player comes back from injury or anytime a player maybe has to miss a few games at the beginning of the season, they always say, well, just give him a few games, give him a couple games, let him get back into football shape. Like, are we going to see some terrible football in the beginning of the season and then it'll start getting better or what? I don't know. It's interesting, I guess. I mean, I guess the players want it, so who knows? I don't know. It could be good, though.
Yeah, look, I just want football, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not going to be sitting here and complaining about the product. I just want to see it on the field. I know Lake had alluded to, why would people want to play the game if Dwayne Haskins is sitting out or Aaron Rodgers contracts COVID and everything like that? At that point, we just want to see football. I mean, look, the MLB had one of its greatest ratings the other night because it was their first game live. People are starving for this content. The NFL knows it, and the NFL is king. When they come back, it doesn't matter who's out there. We are going to have a lot of fun watching this team. And look, man, I'm just excited that the NFL is actually moving towards this season. They announced the NFLPA they're okay with daily testing. So what that does is they're going to get tested every day. And if they have below 5% after a certain time of positive rate, they're then going to go to every other day. And then if it stays below 5%, then they'll extend that and they'll bleed it out a little bit more. But if it does go above 5, they're going to have to go back to the daily testing. So they're kind of putting in some firewalls and ways to be able to progress and retract. And so I think that this is the best course of action the NFL could do. The one issue I had was like the tracking devices that they were possibly going to be subjected to, which I thought was actually ridiculous that they would even allow that to be a theory. But Dan, we're going to wrap up the show here. And every guest that we have on here, I always ask 2 questions. All right. The first one is, under Ron Rivera, which player do you think is going to make the biggest stride this year? And the second one I'll get to after you answer.
I think the person who's going to make the biggest stride is going to be Payne on the defensive line.
There you go.
I really do, because this is a guy that, back I've heard inside information that back when he was with Alabama, Saban had to really light a fire under this guy to get it out of him. And, I don't know if you guys, like last year, he was an underachiever. He took some plays off. You can tell there's some sluggish behavior. There's some, some things out there that don't sit too well with me. But when you got a disciplinarian like Ron Rivera, who has played linebacker in the NFL for the 85
and Jack Del Rio.
And Jack Del Rio, exactly. But when you got guys like that who have played the game at a high level, you're not coming back to the sidelines with a half effort with the Dana Stubblefield or Albert Hainsworth effort out there. You gotta bring it. Yeah. And I think that's what Rivera is really going to light a fire under him in particular.
Yeah. Look, and that's a great one.
To hear that.
Yeah, we've heard offense. And we got a defensive one last week. Landon Collins from Ben Standig.
No, we had John Allen from him.
Oh, was it John Allen?
So it's good to hear Daron Payne.
Yeah, so it's good to hear Daron Payne. Now, the last question is, Dan, that being said, if the NFL season does go through and we have 16 games, how do you think the Redskins are going to bounce back this year? Where do you think they're going to end up schedule-wise?
It's a huge question mark, because to me the question mark is Haskins. That's the big question mark in my mind. He showed some tremendous immaturity. He's the most immature quarterback I've seen in 38 years, stepped in between the lines for the Redskins. So a lot of it really rests on him. I think we're going to have a technically sound team. I think we have a pretty talented team. Our defensive line's incredible. Looking at our D line. We got some talent at the skill positions and stuff. So I think, we could, maybe sneak, maybe, 7, 8, 9, maybe we could be knocking on the door for a wild card or even challenge that division. I don't know what exactly, Dallas and New York and Philadelphia is going to do. And, but I think, I think we're going to see a solid team out there. I think kind of like with Detroit, when we see Coach Patricia, you see a solid technical, a very fundamental team, a very disciplined team. I think we're going to see that for the first time in a long time under Rivera.
Yeah, and
I hope so.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you wholeheartedly. I think this team is going to bounce back and do really well. So I don't disagree with you at all, Dan. And Dan, I really appreciate you coming on here again. Guys, go check out his book, Whatever It Takes, his life story. It's an incredible piece. I mean, just hearing how hard you work, Dan, and how much you like your title of your book says, you did whatever it takes. Absolutely. It's
www.whateverittakesbook.com. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Daniel Kelly. It's a true story of a fan making the NFL, but it's been a tremendous journey so far, and I can imagine it's just going to continue to be incredible. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show today. You guys do a great job. I've been on a lot of shows. The way you put this together, the insights, everything's great. And what I love about the three players we touched on today, all three of those guys have some dynamic ability. As my mentor, Lionel Vitale, taught me, who's the scouting director down in Dallas, he said, Danny, put the dynamic ones, and you guys are dynamic.
There you go.
I appreciate you, Dan. I really do appreciate you coming on.
Man.
And best of luck to you, brother. We're going to get you on soon again, hopefully when the season comes around. So we
can actually some awesome insight, man.
Yeah, so we could actually talk about some legit scouting for these games coming up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Guys. Hail to the Redskins.
Absolutely. All right, everybody.
There we go.
All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
And I am a disappointment to my father.
And you're watching the Berkey Zone. Please go like us on Facebook, iTunes Podcast, Good Pods, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We are all over the stratosphere. All right, everybody. Redskins football. Woo!